Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube comf to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: BuzzKillington, Datamagnet, and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. Story number 1. The Passenger, written by Ogosh. We were 3 galactic standard weeks into our 5-week journey when they attacked my ship. Adrenic pirates, foul-tempered, militant, huge tripedal aliens with a penchant for murder and slavery. They descend from a Class 7 rough world, and as such are most likely the most naturally gifted species recognized by the Galactic Council in terms of sheer physical prowess. If an Adrenic pirating frigate drops out of subspace and you aren't alert enough to get out of EMP range before they shut down your ship's nav systems, it was considered certain doom for you, your crew, and any God-forsaken souls on board. That is, until I met a human. At this point in time, I'd been captaining a transport shuttles through Zone 6 space for roughly 13 GS cycles. I knew the routes well enough that I would shave 1.5 days off the journey by avoiding unnecessary checkpoints and gravity boosting around stars. In hindsight, it was this formulaic attitude that let them get the drop on us. Other than the fate that awaited us, the only unusual thing about our journey was one of the passengers. It described itself as human. It was bipedal, mostly furless alien with pinkish epidermis and a thick patch of light golden hair on top of its head. It was about a head or two taller than most of the crew, and stayed in its quarters for the whole journey, reading. On its boarding form, its stated reason for travel was going home. I did get a chance to speak to it once, a few days before the attack. It was very polite, even complimenting me on the work that I put into polishing my shell. But I digress. When the Adrenic attacked, they did so with the same tactics that I had read about. They dropped out of subspace within 2 GSAU, quickly glassed our nav computers with a focused EMP burst, then overrode our mechanical controls to keep us still long enough to board, and to keep us from using the escape pods. It was at this point I commanded the security crew to stand down. Fighting would only get us killed anyway. They rounded up everyone on board and brought them to the auditorium. I knew what would happen next. I had read that the Adrenic avoid large-scale combat, preferring the individual strength of each warrior. When an especially burly Adrenic stepped into the center presentation area, it was to challenge our own warriors to a duel. The pirate stated its terms. If our champion won, they would leave empty-handed, the crew and passengers unharmed. But if they won, the champion would be killed, their possessions taken, and our lives sold into slavery. As the ship's captain, I was, by default, the warrior they sought. But as a Lbry from a Class 1 garden world, I stood no chance against a Class 7 rough world Adrenic. It stood 3 times taller than me. It could pick me up and throw me without much strain. I knew I would die there. But as I stepped forward to approach the stage, a hand pulled me back by my shoulder, and the human stepped past me. The human stood opposite the Adrenic warrior, surrounded on all sides by the pirate entourage. They jeered loudly and waved their weapons while the passengers cowered at the sight of the room. I felt shame that I had let one of them, one of my passengers, stand in a duel in my place. I was intensely more ashamed at how relieved I felt. 2 of the pirates carried a large black box onto the stage and placed it beside their champion. He explained that the box read the vocal patterns of the speaker in the room and could tell with 100% accuracy if they were lying. To demonstrate, he spoke into the device, saying that he was merciful and treated his slaves like family. The device, in turn, screeched a harsh sound that emitted a red glow. The pirates laughed. As it turns out, the Adrenaline have a pre-battle ritual where they loudly brag about how strong they are to their opponents. I assume to intimidate them. After explaining what the device did, the pirates around the stage slowly stopped making noises and allowed the champion to begin his boast. I am Goshuk Dadar of the clan Frosk, first son of War Chief Dadar, slayer of 16 champions, seal dealer of 7 ships, raider of 3 worlds. I have lived my entire life on a world your council calls dangerous to inhabit. And not only have I survived, I have thrived. I have trained my body under 1.4 times galactic standard gravity to strengthen my muscles into weapons of battle. And I am undefeated against the enemies of the Adrenaline. The pirates surrounded the stage erupted in a new roar of pride and bluster, driving the passengers deeper against the walls. My heart sank. 1.4? That kind of gravity would crush Lbry, and this thing exercised in it. I watched the lie-detecting device throughout the champion's whole boast. It never once alerted to a lie. We were doomed. What's worse, the human looked almost bored. By the sea gods, it was dim-witted. We're going to be sold into slavery. When the human took a step forward, the pirates reacted by hushing themselves, chuckling under their breath at what this puny alien would say in defense. I am Graham Taylor. I was born and raised on Earth, a Class 12 death world where the gravity is 1.6 times galactic standard. Every eye turned to the black box, waiting for it to sound off an alarm. When it didn't, the room went silent. The pirates left without another word after that, and we went on our way shortly after. Officially, my crew was able to defeat the Adrenaline champion in single combat to escape capture. Unofficially, we got very, very, very lucky that we had a creature on board scarier than a pirate, quietly reading in his room. End of story. Story number 2. The Man with the Piston Arms, written by Guncaster. You'll find a lot of weirdos in the private military sector. Specialists that over-specialize to the point of obsession and mania, who drastically modified their bodies to suit their specializations. Street samurai, fire support specialists with full flight capability and actual gunship weapons just strapped to their limbs. Cybermancers with an army of drones at the beck and call. In that sort of environment, legends come to life. During my last deployment, I met one of these legends. It was an expedition to scrap fields, an exploration and salvage mission. We were supposed to protect the techies while they ran some tests, help them grab whatever working tech we find, and get out before the Acaso Industries drone patrols stumble upon us. So there's me, the vet called Hansi, and Piston Arms, as we came to call him. Don't give us a preferred name, so we went with that. Me and Hansi blended in just fine with all the tech scrap in the fields with our Type 5 body mod managers. But Piston Arms either had one of those fancy biogel mods to cover his chrome, or he legitimately still had his real head and torso. The guy looked like he would expect perfect physical condition, but the years showed. White hair, wrinkles, leathery skin and all. Was probably older than Hansi. Talked with a really thick accent for some reason, probably from one of the Terran-born bloodlines. Now, here comes the reason I called him Piston Arms. The old man had his huge body, literally a walking tank. Shoulder-mounted MGs, little handles that he could hold onto, fat, freaking chunky plates of solid metal armor. The guy had a mass negator on 24/7, just so he wouldn't sink into the ground. On the huge chassis, he had a pair of smaller arms for normal manipulation, and the eponymous piston arms. Giant things, thick enough to carry blast shields on the forearms. Oh, and he did have those, the madman. We figured the Pistons were pile bunkers with how popular they'd gotten lately. I wasn't necessarily wrong, but, well, the expedition went a bit awry. One thing led to another, and we got cornered by one of the defective bioconstructs that got dumped in the scrap fields way back in the day. Huge thing. Looked like it was implanted with some outdated cybernetics, too. "Grab the tackies and take them to the transport," the old man said. "I'll deal with it," he said, with the thick thing standing there, twitching. We didn't exactly want to see what one of those things could do, even damaged. So me and Hansi started packing up our kit and grabbing the drones while we covered the techies' retreat. As I was running back to the transport, I saw everything. Perks of literally having eyes in the back of your head, you know. Piston Arms actually lifted his arms for the first time during the expedition, and I heard a noise those pistons made when they revved aback. Chunk! The cylinders went as he released their locks, the near-solid chunks of metal shaking the ground. The thing charged, and the old man got pushed back about half an inch. He had disengaged his mass negator and fired a good 20 anchors into the ground, the anchors widening after they dug in to stop him from sinking. The metal strained, but held. So did the old man. He held the head of the near 9-foot beast in his huge piston arms. As I was opening up the transport to prepare it for his boarding, I picked up a data broadcast. It opened in the corner of my HUD. It was a live stream from the perspective of old Piston Arms, and the chat room seemed to be bursting with activity. Mostly spam and silly memes, as usual. I heard him shout, his voice filled with joy. "This construct is very threatening, so we must deal with it. Welcome to the hydraulic press channel." Sure enough, when I checked the stream ID, it did say hydraulic press channel. The guy spent half his pay buying his stimulants later that week. All in all, one of the more normal specialists I've worked with. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.